Good morning, students. Everybody, please take your seats. Everybody, please settle down. Settle down, everybody. Even though today's video was made before the announcements that were made on Thursday about Walt Disney World, I was told by the district to tell you all that every point in this video still stands and that it still might carry on into the Destination D23 weekend. I had to add this segment on after the fact. Even though we got a big news drop on Thursday, every point I make in this video is still valid because why aren't they having a parks panel if they're having this weird parks event before the event anyway? Thank you all for listening. Let's begin the class. I have to show you this video. It's required by the district, so let's turn down the lights and everyone put their heads down or get off their phones or watch the video. I really don't care. I'm tenured, so. No Destination D23 Parks panel. We've reached that phase of the Disney life cycle where Disney announces a brand new or a returning celebration, destination, convention, and there's no parks panel included. What do you do in this situation, my friend? What can any of us do in this situation besides panic, freak out, scream, and throw things out the window? Well, today, my friend, I'm imploring you to use the power of patience. Patience is very important in today's video. In fact, you could say it's the theme of today's video because we're going to be talking about how important it is right now to be a level-headed, patient Disney Parks fan. Let me explain a little bit more. I'm taking this with me. You know, for a second, I panicked too. I was a little bit worried about them not having a parks panel at Destination D23. Some people were saying that they never have parks panels at Destination D23 and that's not the place to go for park announcements. That's not true. They announced the Tropical Americas at Destination D23 in 2023, and that's a very large expansion. So they do announce things for the parks at Destination D23. However, this year, it's going to be a little bit lighter. I mentioned in my predictions video, there's going to be a card up there if you want to click and watch that for my predictions, that it's going to be a little bit lighter. There's not going to be as many big bombastic announcements as there was in 2023. And that's because there's already just so much going on. They're already building most of the things that they've announced at Destination D23 in 2023 and D23 Expo the following year in 24. The Avengers Campus expansion, it's gone vertical. They're building the show building now. Coco starts this fall. The Rivers of America are now closed, and the construction for the Cars expansion in Frontierland will begin as soon as the rivers are drained and Tom Sawyer Island is demolished, and all of that is filled in, then they can start building, so it's going to be another few years. Keep a lookout on that one. And Villains Land has the laydown yard in the very back of the Magic Kingdom already constructed, and they're starting land clearing and land surveying, so that will be happening within the next year or so here. So all of that is already going on. They're already doing all this stuff. What more could they announce? They could announce a new People Mover at Disneyland, or maybe a new version of Journey into Imagination, but that's not what's going to happen. Here is what is going to happen at Destination D23 this year. No frowny faces here, my friends. There are no frowny faces allowed on the Offhand Disney YouTube channel. That is, unless, of course, I say that there are frowny faces allowed, and there were last week when I was talking about the rivers, but not this week. No, this week we're all going to be happy. Don't worry, because there are going to be parks announcements and little things sprinkled throughout the Destination D23 weekend. It just won't be as big as it was last year, obviously, at D23 Expo, and it certainly won't be as big as it was the year before that at the previous Destination D23. So think smaller scale. There will still be land announcements, but there won't be any big bombastic lands that are being announced. There's going to be smaller things, maybe some food items, maybe some restaurants, maybe a new bathroom announcement. Imagine we get a new bathroom announcement. That would be wild. So there's gonna be announcements. Just take your hopes and dreams down a notch, maybe a notch or two, depending on what we end up seeing as the weekend kicks off. Now, let's take a look at the schedule. I do believe someone posted the schedule, and the schedule is in this general direction, which is the desk. So I'm going to go over to the desk so we can look at the D23 schedule for this upcoming presentation weekend. So let's take a look here at the schedule. Let's get this on the desk here. Saturday, August 30th, 2025 starts with welcome Disney Studios Shortcut Morning Break. Marco Vargo, Caballeros. Creating the happiest place on earth. Oh, at 3 p.m. Creating the happiest place on earth, that being Disneyland. Okay, not the Magic Kingdom or Walt Disney World. That's the most magical place on earth. We gotta get it right here, folks. Now, creating the happiest place on earth might not be about the future of Disneyland, but they could sprinkle some Easter eggs, maybe some references, some allusions to what might be happening in the future. This panel will most likely revolve around Disneyland leading up to its opening day and then maybe the first couple of years. So 1954, 55 through maybe like 1960. I don't think we're gonna get a new Tomorrowland announcement at the making of the happiest place on earth, but I mean, you never know. Tomorrowland was open on opening day, so there's a 0.03% chance, and I've run the numbers. But if Disney's looking to announce something nostalgic, something rooted in the past for Disneyland, this might be the panel to do it at. I don't know if they're going to talk about the Magic Kingdom or Disney World at all during this panel. They shouldn't, because it's the most magical place on Earth. But if they do, again, an announcement will be rooted in the past, rooted in nostalgia. So fear not, folks. There's a panel for you to keep your eye on. Let's go further down here. Let's see here. Afternoon break, Disney Eats. Maybe they'll announce Captain Hook's Galley for Villains Land. You never do know. But speaking of Villains Land, let's go to the next day. Let's head over to Sunday, August 31st, where at 9:05 a.m., first thing in the morning, very curious, is the Disney Villains Icons of Evil panel, which is very, very interesting because I don't know if you've been following Disney Parks news or anything recently, but they're building a giant big old Disney Villains Land in the back of the Magic Kingdom, actively as we speak. Now, the main thing that has my eyes on this panel is not the fact that it's Disney Villains themed. Disney loves talking about the Disney Villains. It's the fact that it's at 9:05 a.m., the first thing in the morning. Could it be that there's some big news for a Villains themed land in this panel that Disney wants to get out there as early as they possibly can to sort of, catch in the news cycle? I think the odds of that might be a bit higher than people think. If they were holding the panel at 2 p.m. or 2:30 or 3:30, then that would be sort of, middle of the day, sort of noon-ish on the West Coast where Disneyland is. But that 9:05 a.m. time slot has me thinking that they might have more up their sleeves for this panel than just talking about how cool the Disney villains are. Don't you all love Hades and the Evil Queen from Snow White? I do like the Evil Queen. She's great at Disneyland. Now, what is my expectation for this panel? What do I think they would announce for a Villains Land if they do announce anything at the Villains panel? I think that it ties back to what we talked about earlier. Clarification, clarification, clarification. I don't necessarily need a name for the land or when it's going to be open or what the names of the rides are going to be, although that would be cool. All I really care about is a little bit more detail on how this is all going to be laid out. Confirmation on how it's going to potentially connect to the Haunted Mansion, not story-wise. Maybe story-wise, but location-wise. The walkway is going to be complete. You'll be able to walk past beyond Big Thunder Mountain, all the way around what used to be the Rivers of America, now Piston Peak, or later Piston Peak, into the Haunted Mansion, into Liberty Square. I want to see more walkways, paths, more utility. I want to see grounded concept art, what they can use in that area, how it's going to be utilized. I think that would be really neat. And like I said earlier, maybe bathrooms, maybe we can get some bathroom clarification, just some restrooms, maybe a bottle filling station if we're really, really lucky. Something more detailed, something that has a little bit more to go off of than a giant castle and then a Maleficent roller coaster somewhere in the land that also somehow goes underwater. Something that has a real layout. You can see walkways, shops, maybe an attraction facade. Because concept art does tend to change over time as fire code is brought into account, things like restrooms and guest services are thought of. Once the facilities and guest services are planned out, everything will have more of a concrete place, and it'll look more like a theme park land than a blue sky environment, which is really sort of what we got with this original piece of concept art. I really, really want to see this expanded on, sure, but I want to see it a more concrete version of what this is supposed to represent. Show me a restaurant, show me a restroom, show me, I don't know, a little people moving attraction you could ride on the back of Chernobog's little demons from night on Bald Mountain as they encircle the land, and you can get nice bird's eye, relaxing views of the darkest land at Walt Disney World. Just a thought there, Imagineers. That's just a little blue sky pitch from me to you. Think about that. Don't expect things like a full land name announcement or even specific attractions. Maybe the Maleficent roller coaster, because I know Disney freaking loves roller coasters these days. Every land's gotta have a damn roller coaster in it. So I'm sure they've already made space and planned out the final cut of what this Maleficent roller coaster is going to be and what it's going to look like. So maybe a tiny bit more information on that. I love a good C and D ticket, but we know that there's going to be a roller coaster. We know Disney wants to put a roller coaster in here. So if we get any information on any of the attractions, that's a big if, by the way. That's a long shot, then it will be that Maleficent roller coaster. I'm telling you that not as a prediction, but I'm calling my shot. That's what it's gonna be. And then, of course, moving on down the list here, part of our world, morning break. I wonder what that morning break panel is gonna be. That, hold on, might have potential. It's early, like the Disney Villains panel. Morning break, maybe like a morning break apart the People Mover track to rebuild it from the ground up at Disneyland. Maybe keep your eyes on the morning break panel. That's gonna be interesting to look at. Further down here, oh, lunch break. Lunch break. Maybe they're going to lunch break apart the People Mover track at Disneyland because the rocket rods completely ruined them and I have to build them up from the ground. Maybe they'll, talk about that at the lunch break panel. Further down, Disney across the globe. Ooh, wait, hold on. Beyond the Spires, an insider look at the Disney castles. An insider look is very interesting to me. Now, right off the top of your head, if I were to ask you what you think the insider look at the Disney castles panel is going to be, you'll say it's just talking about the Easter eggs or the, different construction methods, details on the Disney castles, like the snails on the Disneyland Paris castle. They're there, trust me, there's snails on that thing. Or how each of the Disney princesses have their own spire on the Castle of Magical Dreams at Hong Kong Disneyland. Again, this is one of the best castles in the world. I've said it before, but I love how all the new stuff sort of grows out of the classic Disneyland castle. I think it's really cool. I might be alone in that. Here, my friends, they might announce something that is very direly needed, in my opinion, for the Magic Kingdom in Orlando, and that is returning to the original castle color scheme that they had for the first 49 years of the park's existence, because it looked so much better. Maybe they'll announce that at this panel. That's a pie in the sky wish. That's a hope. That's a dream. But I think I've given it its fair shake. I've given it 5 or so years. I really don't like the paint job. It looks sunburnt. I know the Disneyland one is supposed to be the pink and blue. That looks great after the repaint. It was sort of a fresh take on what already made it what it is. The Disney World Castle repaint just added pink when there didn't need to be pink. Maybe you could make the base of the castle more vibrant or the spires a deeper blue, but it really didn't need that pink. I like the gold, I like the blue, the blue's fine, but that pink is just really gross. It does not look right in my eyes. Leave a comment below, tell me, do you agree with this? Because I have never really liked the new castle repaint, and I still don't like it, and I hope it goes away. So definitely keep a lookout at that castle panel. I don't know exactly what they would announce at this panel. That would be a really big sort of groundbreaking announcement, but a repainting would be nice. Anything for maybe the Fantasyland, just the area immediately surrounding the castle, in any of the lands, anywhere in the world, that could be announced at this panel, but probably not too much. Maybe, just maybe, some sort of re-theme, some sort of repainting, hopefully some sort of repainting. But now we move ahead to the Walt Disney Studios presentation. Now this is another very big headliner presentation, but it has to do with the movies, the films, and the films and the parks, while they do go together very well, a lot of the new opening attractions are based on Disney films, they don't really like to spend time talking about their parks in their studios presentation. They like to keep those presentations separate. However, this time it might be a little bit different because of the lack of a parks panel. If Disney were announcing anything for the parks that had to tie into one of these new movies, one of these new franchises coming out, think Encanto, Avatar, Marvel, that sort of thing, maybe we could see it, like a 40% chance we could see it at the Walt Disney Studios panel. It's a bit of a leap, but if they did want to announce something for Avatar, say they announced new details for Fire and Ash that would be present, that could be seen in the DCA expansion that they're building, that would be a pretty good time to announce it. So keep an eye on that one too, I suppose. Sort of racking my brain right now, but it seems like Encanto is the only sort of media franchise in active development with sequels and stuff in the works that is currently being worked on at the Disney parks with Tropical Americas. They could announce, you know, a Frozen land at Disneyland Forward, because that land is gorgeous. Please build that somewhere. Please, I need to go. Because of course Disney's going to continue to develop that Frozen franchise. The first movie made a lot of money, and the second movie made over $1 billion. So of course, Frozen is an intellectual property that Disney really wants to capitalize on when it comes to the parks. And if that means, unfortunately, dang it, we have to get an Arendelle land at Disneyland or the Magic Kingdom or somewhere, anywhere in the American parks, anywhere at all, please, then unfortunately that's just a truth we're gonna have to confront. I mean, look at it at night, come on. Come on. But if Disney has any plans for any movie-themed attractions, I guess Infinity Defense would tie into that, right? With King Thanos. Marvel is still making movies, so, you know, we might see some more details on Infinity Defense at the Walt Disney Studios presentation. I don't think we will. Think Encanto, think maybe Lilo and Stitch, the animated version, not the live-action abomination. Big, popular, famous movies or TV shows that Disney wants to build a physical version of in the parks somewhere. That would be an announcement we would see at that panel. Oh yeah, Avatar. I totally forgot about Avatar. Much like most people when they leave the theater after seeing it. That's not, however, a knock on the land, okay? Pandora in Disney World is absolutely delightful. It's magical, and I'm so excited they're bringing it to California Adventure. I'm excited to see how they make you feel like you're on this alien planet to the same scale that they do in Orlando while you're in the middle of Anaheim, California. Right up against Harbor Boulevard, because that's where it's going. So who knows, we might see more on the Avatar experience at the Disney Studios panel, but I'm going like 4 out of 10 on this one. I'm not expecting much. Now this isn't a bad thing, right? Because they're building so much right now, so much is happening. I wouldn't expect really any big bombastic announcements at this year's Destination D23. Think smaller, think more intimate announcements, smaller little incremental things that they could announce on things that have already been sort of shown off to the public. Which leads me into wondering what they're going to do for next year at the D23 Expo, because they are still going to be building a lot of these projects. I don't think Infinity Defense or Stark Flight Lab, for that matter, the furthest along construction that they've announced, it's one of these big sort of expansions, I don't think that's even going to be finished. So it's going to be interesting what they would announce at the Parks panel next year. Maybe that one big announcement, that one big sort of land or revamp or overhaul is being saved for next year at the big event. So just keep that in mind going into next year's D23. It might also be smaller than last year's D23 Expo. Just don't be upset when it's smaller, because all of this is all happening right now. We need to let them finish what they're doing, and then we can get into talking about new Tomorrowland, or maybe a new expansion at Epcot, a new pavilion, or a brand new land at the Magic Kingdom. Another brand new land at the Magic Kingdom. I don't often say this, maybe I do, maybe I say it too much, but we just gotta be patient, okay? Shovels are in the ground, cranes are up and destroying sightlines, so we just gotta wait. We gotta wait for these things to be built first, and then we can start talking about the future, because there's just so much happening. I keep saying that, but it's true. There's a lot happening, more so than any other point in the past when I've had this YouTube channel, including new Epcot. For all that turned out to be. Will the panels be boring? Maybe. Will it just be explaining what we already know? Probably, but where everything stands right now with everything that's happening right now, is that really a bad thing? Yes, we all love announcements, we all love new stuff, and the new stuff is happening. We just don't need new stuff all the time. I mean, I would like new stuff all the time, but we don't need new stuff all the time. It's not like Disney can announce a brand new giant e-ticket every single year. These things take time. They take time to plan, and they take time to build. So even if they decide to forego all park announcements this year, they won't, by the way. There will be a couple thrown in there. I'm oddly okay with that because I know what's happening right now. I know what they're doing. And all of that being said, brand new People Mover coming to Disneyland's Tomorrowland 2027. It'll be open. I'll be there on opening day. I'll be the one cutting the ribbon. They're going to announce it at Destination D23. I know this for a fact. This is not a leak. This is not a rumor. This is 100% confirmed by me as of right now. You're welcome, everybody. I'm only kind of kidding. Only like a little bit. Kind of. Just, you know, not really. Hey there everybody, thank you all so much for watching this video on the reality of Destination D23. I guess this is sort of like a part 2 to my predictions video, a revised version, should I say, because we didn't know when I put that video up that there was not going to be a dedicated parks panel, but now we do. I think that if you're looking for some smaller announcements, some explanation, I think you'll probably end up leaving satisfied from this Destination D23. It just really makes me wonder what they're going to be doing next year at the D23 Expo, because that's where all the big announcements happen. That's where they announced Villains and Cars and the Coco Dark Ride at Disney California Adventure. I'm curious as to what they have planned for that, because I don't know what more they could do. Unless the Disney parks are just in a perpetual state of groundbreaking and construction, in which case, you know, we've come to expect it at this point. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the like button. If you're new around here and you want more videos like this video, please be sure to hit the subscribe button. A massive thank you, as always, to my supporters over at patreon.com/offhanddisney. They help keep this channel going the way that it's going. So if you want to support the channel, if you want to join their ranks and get early video access, you absolutely can. There will be a link in the description down below, or just go to patreon.com/offhanddisney. However, if you'd rather follow me for free on other social media sites, you can do that instead. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. I am at offhanddisney on all of those different websites. But everybody, that brings us to the end of the video. I appreciate you staying with me here till the end. Thank you all so much for watching. Look forward to seeing you in the next video. Goodbye.